Dump your strength stones quick and save. Yeah, that's a good plan, Michael. Since she's being switched over to intelligence, she's going to be using intelligence skin stones to level her up. So if you think you might be leveling her up and you have an abundance of strength skin stones, dump them now. All right. There's a lot of questions about things like, is she going to get refunded when this switch happens? No, nothing is going to be reset. Nothing is going to be refunded. Whatever her health and stats and everything are now, it's going to be converted over to intelligence as the main stat, and everything is going to stay the same.
It's only a game. Why you have to be mad?
So Lilith is getting a rework on Hero Wars Facebook and web. A couple of really important points about her rework that we got to cover is that she's being switched to a mage. She's no longer a tank. She's a mage now. She's being moved to the back line. She's no longer a strength hero. Now she's an intelligence hero. Her primary role is mage. It used to be control. So not only are people not going to be using her as a tank anymore, but she's going to be benefited by a different tree of wisdom in Ascension. We have her new max stats here, and I will share all of these on the Discord as we get to them. Her artifact weapon is now magic penetration. It was magic defense. It's magic penetration, okay? And her artifact book is of the magic attack and health variety. Pretty straightforward there. Her glyphs are magic attack, health, magic penetration, magic defense, and intelligence. Now, a really cool thing that I noticed that is going to be on heroes going forward is the skills that are ascended, that is upgraded by tier 2 and tier 5 ascension, are now going to have these fun little frames around them. Yeah, pretty exciting there. Lilith is the first new hero to get ascension upgrades, and this shows us that in the future, any hero that gets a rework will have potentially ascended skills. Kind of cool there. Kind of cool there. We have this ultimate ability that will target the central enemy, that it's going to target the midline. And that's a theme for Lilith, is magic damage to the center of the team. Casts a seal and then detonates it, damaging the target and nearby enemies. Lilith increases her max and current health by 3% for each hero damage. Now, this is traditionally going to be 1 to 3 heroes that it's going to be targeting. If you have a way of grouping heroes up, or if you're facing off an entire team of like frontline heroes, like 4 frontline plus 1 backline, which does happen a lot, then you might hit more. So every time that she ults, she's going to gain, 9%-ish health. 3, 6, 9%-ish health. Daniel used Lars a lot to group up the enemy, and doing that, you would be gaining 15% effective health with this ultimate. Now, despite my requests, he did not switch the skill info over, so we can't quite see what the modifier is for this ability. And I was hoping that they would share it on this post, but they did not. They did not share the modifier. So it just says, depends on magic attack. Yeah, some kind of magic attack multiplier. Who knows what it is? It's ascendable, and I don't know if this is skill 2 or skill 5, but the enemy that takes the least damage is additionally stunned for 5 seconds. So the enemy with the highest magic defense, or the enemy that absorbs the most magic damage, will be stunned. So this could be Aurora. This could be other midline heroes. Daniel mentioned Isaac being the one that gets stunned. Could be Isaac. Depends, 5 seconds. I think that a 5-second stun plus Mara could be incredibly beneficial. Could be really beneficial, stunning that midline hero for a little while. The green ability, Infernal Rift, is a pretty simple area of effect attack that's very similar to her ultimate. Conjures a rift below the central enemy, which deals damage and enemies nearby. So it's the same effective skill, right? Doing damage to the middle enemy plus the enemies nearby. Grouping the enemies up is going to benefit from this more. And it's a boring skill. Doesn't do any kind of utility at all. Just a run-of-the-mill magic attack for the middle. The blue ability, Fire Breath, is another area of effect that hits the center enemy. Lilith belches forth a tainted fireball. I think I've belched some tainted fireballs in my day. Launching it at the central enemy, the fireball explodes, decreasing the magic defense of enemies caught in the explosion for 6 seconds. So again, we have a third attack that targets the center enemy and the enemies around it, and also lowers the magic defense. So you might consider that the timing of these abilities are going to be such that by the time Lilith's ultimate is ready, this debuff will be on the target. So a 12,000 reduction in magic defense You know, what is that? Like, what realistically does that look like? Lynn has 40,000 magic defense. I mean, the average tanks, let's see. The average tanks have, looks like, Jorgen is not a tank. Astaroth has 26k magic defense. Chaba has 26k magic defense. So if this were hitting a tank, then it would be reducing a majority of the magic defense. But remember, this is not hitting the tanks. This is hitting the center line. Having the ability to lower the enemy's magic defense with the magic penetration artifact paired with that, you got to imagine that the enemy's magic defenses are basically going to be completely nullified. We have this artifact weapon that provides 32,000 magic penetration. And then we have this blue skill that reduces the enemy's magic defense by 12k. So effectively, those center heroes, unless they have their own magic defense artifacts, effectively those center heroes are going to have 0 magic defense against this magic damage. So that's a lot of magic damage to the core of the enemy team. Anybody that has, you know, mid to low end health that are trying to hide in the middle are not going to survive Lilith. They're not going to survive. There's a lot of heroes that try to do that right now, by the way, guys. And then finally, the Violet skill actually modifies the blue skill. She actually will boost her magic attack by 5% of her health every time she uses one of her abilities. While Lilith has sufficient health, she sacrifices 5% of her max health before using each skill. So every time she uses her green ability, she's gaining bonus magic attack. Every time she uses her blue ability, she's gaining magic attack. She's also losing health, by the way. Every time she uses her ultimate, she's boosting her magic attack by 5% of her total health, right? The longer the fight goes on, the more dangerous Lilith is going to be. The more dangerous she's going to be. And then we have the Ascension skill, Mass Possession. When possession is triggered, enemies weakened by Fire Breath. Those are the center core enemies, the middle 2 to 3 enemies on the enemy team. They also take pure damage equal to 1% of their health, and Lilith gains 1% of their health and magic attack as well. So Fire Breath, every time Lilith uses Fire Breath, she's going to increase her magic attack by 5% of her health and 1% of all of the enemy's health that they hit. Very, very strong mage here. Very, very strong mage. I'm kind of scared. I'm actually more nervous about this than Iris. I'm more concerned about Lilith now than I am Iris. Because you have to kill Lilith fast, just like you have to kill Iris fast. You got to kill her very fast, otherwise her health goes beyond your control, and you can't do anything about it. Now, additionally, she is getting a 5th skin in this Dark Depths or Devil skin right here. You gain an additional 10k magic penetration. It's right here. So she has 20k magic penetration, which seems kind of low, if I'm being honest with you. If 10k of that is coming from her skin, 20k magic penetration seems kind of low. She's going to be ignoring all magic defenses, effectively. I think she's going to be ignoring magic defenses completely. Seems like it'll be a good against bosses, but condolences to people who only has Lilith as a tank. Yep. Dump your strength stones quick and save. Yeah, that's a good plan, Michael. Since she's being switched over to intelligence, she's going to be using intelligence skin stones to level her up. So if you think you might be leveling her up and you have an abundance of strength skin stones, dump them now. All right. There's a lot of questions about things like, is she going to get refunded when this switch happens? No, nothing is going to be reset. Nothing is going to be refunded. Whatever her health and stats and everything are now, it's going to be converted over to intelligence as the main stat, and everything is going to stay the same. If you've leveled Glyph 3 up to 40, then Glyph 3 is going to be still at 40. It's all going to just be swapped over. No resets, no refunds. Now, where do I think that she's going to be effective? Where do I think that she's going to be effective? I think that it's pretty straightforward that she's going to be, good against any team that has the low health enemies in the middle, right? Trying to hide Lars in the middle. Trying to keep your, having Martha push your heroes forward to kind of keep them alive. I think that she could be very strong countering some of the teams with Sebastian in it, ways to get rid of Sebastian. I think that there's going to be a lot of interesting lineups that are going to be completely affected by this. Now, it's going to matter depending on how many people actually like the idea of leveling up another backline mage. We have a couple already. But you can also pair her with a lot of existing mages that recently got some love. And when we talk about that, we're talking about, I mentioned earlier that I think I'm pretty excited about using Kai with her, right? Kai doesn't have a magic penetration artifact. He needs magic penetration. I think Kai, with all of his area of effect damage that he does, and his ascended skills that he has, I think that Kai Lilith could be fun. I think that could be a lot of damage there. I mentioned Jorgen earlier. I think Jorgen has a big hit for his ultimate ability, and Lilith doesn't really care about Leper, doesn't really care about all that. His artifact weapon is magic attack also. Celeste would be good. I think Celeste could be very interesting. But since Lilith has her own magic penetration artifact, you could theoretically just drop her into any team and she would be effective. She would be effective at countering, those pesky midline mages that you just can't quite get to for whatever reason. Lilith may be good, but she won't beat Orion in magic. So the issue with Orion is a couple. And you're right. She's very similar to how Orion's going to act. Orion targets with magic attacks differently, right? Orion's abilities are attacking the enemies with the highest health. They are big hits. Yes, they are big hits. And he does have magic penetration. Yes. And he does have the stun, right? He stuns the tank, so he has some utility. Magnetic field slows enemies, so he has a lot of utility. The full charge, extra bonus energy. So he is doing a lot of damage. But what I don't like about Orion is every time Orion uses his ultimate, his targets can potentially change, right? So let's say he hits the highest health targets and it's your tank and your Martha and one of your supports, right? Those all of a sudden have lower health than the next enemies. So then Orion targets different enemies with his attacks. Now, the more the fight goes on, the more effective Orion gets because the fewer targets there are for Orion to target, right? So I think Orion is a good choice. Orion has fantastic magic penetration as well. Though I think that Lilith is designed to outclass him. I think that we have power scaling here. Now, I also think that Lilith is going to be very strong against bosses. One of the big issues here, let's pull this back up. Lilith's ability is going to be doing damage to the center target. Okay, I think that no matter who she's going up against, there's always going to be a center target, right? It's going to be the boss. And she's going to increase her max health. Skill 2. Basic damage attack. Doesn't matter how many enemies there are. It's going to hit the centermost enemy, which is often going to be the boss. Think about the Osh fight. Skill 3. Central enemy. Decreasing magic defense. The decreasing magic defense probably does work because remember, guys, things like knockups and stuns and silences, those do not often work on bosses. But debuffs like this, sometimes they do. So this could be something that would help you do more damage to bosses. Of course, a lot of the damage on bosses is capped. And then skill 4, I mean, this is going to steal 1%. I'm curious if this ability works. If this ability works on bosses, dealing 1% pure damage to a boss is going to be a lot of damage. It's going to be a lot. I mean, it's not going to be as much as like Zhu or Xing Mao, right? But 1% is a lot of damage, and it's also going to be converted to magic attack for Lilith. So if this Ascension skill actually works on bosses, man, that'd be a lot of bonus attack. That's a lot of bonus magic attack. So what I'm thinking, guys, the thing that I was thinking the whole time as I was reading through these skills, I think the thing that I'm most excited about, aside from building fun teams with her, I think there's going to be a lot of opportunity for her as far as building some teams. I think one of the next Osh lineups that I'm going to be using is going to be something like this. Like imagine this, stacking that magic attack, right? Because we know from a previous discussion, we know how well that she stands in front of Alvinor here. We know how well that Alvinor stands up to Osh, right? He blocks all those attacks. He's continually spamming his ult, which is boosting magic attack of the team. I think we stick with the elves, though. I think we do stick with the elves. And this is something that I've tried in the past. Who knows if it's still going to work, right? Who knows if it's still going to work? It didn't work then. Kai, bonus magic attack, right? Is an elf. Let's use Thea. Bonus healing, speed up. The silence doesn't really matter, but also a Grove Keeper, right? I think something like this, and then, I don't know, another support of some kind. Maybe you do use Orion. Maybe you use Judge. Maybe you use Judge in this lineup. I think this could be something because she's going to be constantly stacking magic attack on herself. If her area of effect attacks hit Osh and the defensive spheres around Osh, I think it could be a big deal. This may be my Guild Raid 2 team